Yes. He's so creative.
Okay. Rolling with all this nonsense. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 AWP conference here in LA. I am Fareed Matuk, a member of the AWP Board of Directors, and here for accessibility is a visual description of myself, about which I feel incredibly awkward offering. I am a 6'2", cis, light-skinned Arab American man, middle-aged, with salt and pepper hair and beard, wearing black pants, a linen shirt, and kind of a sexy green suede jacket. AWP is a small but mighty nonprofit organization that amplifies the voices of writers in academic programs and organizations that serve writers. I am a member of the board, but first and foremost, I'm a member of the organization. Those membership dues help to support mentorship programs and all kinds of access programs for developing younger writers. So please consider renewing or establishing a membership today. This is a really, really meaningful event for so many of us at AWP and across the world, really. So it's a great honor to bring it to you today. I really want to acknowledge Mizna, the sponsor for this event. Literary partners and sponsors allow AWP to present these extraordinary literary events and help us keep the conference affordable and accessible. Now, before we start, please take a moment to silence phones. We do not welcome flash photography during the event. Respect any seats marked off for accessibility, please. And allow the authors about 10 minutes to arrive at the signing after the fact. So with that, it's my incredible joy, really, to welcome friend and comrade George Abraham to introduce the event.
Thank you, Fareed. Coming up to the event, I'm like, please be Fareed introducing us. So, my name is George Abraham. I'm editor-at-large for Mizna, and it's just such an honor to be here with these comrades. And I want to just take a second before we begin to acknowledge that we are gathering during a time of struggle and violence against so many peoples in our communities. The Palestinian people continue to be brutalized by the decades-long American-funded genocide and colonial violence of Israeli apartheid. We also stand in solidarity with the victims of a genocide in Sudan, which has been going on for over 700 days, and Congo, with the indigenous peoples on whose ancestral homelands this conference is being held, including the Tongva, Taraviam, Serrano, Kes, and Chumash tribes. We stand very firmly against anti-Blackness and recognize that police violence and all white supremacist violence must be named and opposed. We stand with immigrants against whom the current federal administration is carrying out horrible acts of violence, imprisonment, and erasure, and just all outright disappearing. Look at the videos online. Do not look away. These forms of violence, along with transphobic violence being legislated across the U.S. that the Democrats paved the way for, by the way, endangered the lives of trans, queer, gender nonconforming, and non-binary people. Therefore, as we begin our event, we wish to underscore that none of us are free until all of us are free, and that all anti-racist, liberationist, and decolonial struggles are intertwined. Thank you. And while I'm here, I want to use this platform to thank our comrades at RAWI, Radius of Arab American Writers, for their courage, being steadfast and uncompromising. For over 25 years, Mizna has been a women-led contemporary arts organization. Since our founding, we have promoted experimental approaches to art, literature, and film, work that questions and expands the forms and conceptual frameworks of Arab and Sawana, Southwest Asian, and North African culture. We publish a biannual print literary and art journal, Mizna, and Mizna Online, a digital platform for literary and multidisciplinary work reflecting critically on the current realities of the Sawana region and beyond, including, most recently, amazing review by Summer Farah of Mohammed El-Kurd's Perfect Victims, which is a book you should check out and a review you should check out. We produce, We produced the Twin Cities Arab Film Festival, the largest and longest-running Sawana-centered film festival in the Midwest, and we hope to see you all there next year. Mizna also offers readings, film series, performances, public art commissions, and community events like this, and have featured over 1,000 local and transnational writers, filmmakers, and artists. And so today, we are here at AWP insisting that our people shall live. We are insisting to help bring us in this insistence. We originally were going to have an event with Suhair Hamad and Mosab Abu Toha that was conceptualized after Mosab Abu Toha's kidnapping by that which is called Israeli occupation forces, and Suhair messaging, we need to get Mosab back, we need to get him here and physically in front of us, we need to get together. That's over a year ago this began the process of organizing the event. Suhair Habibti unfortunately could not be here with us, and so with Suhair's blessing we have the iconic, the amazing, the legendary Lena Khalaf Tuffaha with us. And Mosab Abu Toha Habibi joining us virtually despite a truly impossible moment. I will just read their bios. They will read in the order: first Mosab Abu Toha, then Lena Khalaf Tuffaha, then we'll just engage in conversation. So first, Mosab Abu Toha is a Palestinian poet, short story writer, and essayist from Gaza. His first poetry collection, amazing, amazing book, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear, was a finalist for so many awards that did not deserve him, and also the Palestine Book Award, which is a really great award. Abu Toha is the founder of the Edward Said Library in Gaza, which he hopes to rebuild. He has recently won an Overseas Press Club Award, again, an award that they are lucky to have him, for a column in a journal that shall not be named, and is way too lucky to have him. Lena Khalaf Tuffaha is a poet, essayist, and translator. She is the author of 3 collections of poetry, Something About Living, which of course won the National Book Award. And again, congrats to the National Book Award for having Lena, in the words of our comrade Gandhi. Congrats to the National Book Award for making a good decision for once in their life. And the iconic Can and Her Sisters from Trio House Press, finalists for many awards that also didn't deserve her, and the Arab American Book Award, which is a good award. And Water and Salts from a press that is also way too lucky to have her. Lena is also the author of 2 chapbooks, Arab and New Land, and Letters from the Interior from Diode, which is a very phenomenal press. And the finalists for another chapbook prize that is way too lucky to have her. Please join us in welcoming Mosab Abu Toha and Lena Khalaf Tuffaha.
Thank you so much, George. Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me, please. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, George. Thank you so much, Mizna. I can't tell you how much I wanted to be there with you in LA. But the circumstances, unfortunately, did not allow it. It is very scary. These are very scary moments that we are living in this country. I mean, I can't stand watching other human beings being abducted on the streets. And I don't feel safe even in this country. I don't feel safe in Palestine. And I don't wish to witness more victims, not to mention the victims that we are seeing in Gaza right now. Israel has just announced that they are starting a new land incursion in Rafah, the city where there are about 15 people from the civil defense forces and the Palestine Red Crescent Society are still missing until now, and they are not even allowing them to go and look and try to find where they are, despite them finding 4 ambulances buried under the sand. I'm going to read one poem from my first poetry collection, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. And it's called Shrapnel Looking for Laughter. Shrapnel looking for laughter. The house has been bombed. Everyone's dead. The kids, the parents, the toys, the actors on TV, characters in novels, personas in poetry collections. The I, the he, and the she. No pronouns is left, not even for kids when they learn parts of a speech next year. Shrapnel flies in the dark, looks for the families, peals of laughter, hiding behind piles of disfigured walls and bleeding picture frames. The radio no longer speaks. Its batteries have burnt. The antenna is broken. Even the broadcaster felt the pain when the radio was hit. Even we, hearing the bomb as it fell, threw ourselves to the ground, each of us counting the others around them. We were safe, but our hearts still ache. Every child in Gaza is me. Every mother and father is me. Every house is my heart. Every tree is my leg. Every plant is my arm. Every flower is my eye. Every hole in the earth is my wound. We are looking for Palestine. The sun rises and moves around. It sets to visit other places, and we are looking for Palestine. The birds wake up and look for food. They chirp on the blossoming trees laden with fruit, with peaches, apples, apricots, and oranges, and we are looking for Palestine. The sea waves lap against the shore. They glitter and dance with the fishers' boats, and we are looking for Palestine. People travel to relatives and friends. They book round-trip tickets, stuff their suitcases with gifts and books and clothes, and we are still looking for Palestine. Sir, we have no airports and seaports, no trains, no highways. We have no passable roads, sir. We do have crutches and wheelchairs. Young men with one or no legs, no longer able to work as if there was work. We travel to the West Bank or Egypt for surgery, even to set a broken leg. But we need a permit to enter. We stuff our suitcases with pictures and memories. They feel very heavy on the ground. We can't carry them, neither can the roads. They scar the surface of the earth. We get lost in the past, present, and future. When a child is born, we feel sad for him or her. A child is born here to suffer, sir. A mother feels the great pain in labor. A child cries after leaving her dark place. In Palestine, children always cry. In Palestine, our dark is not safe. If we want to travel, we leave many times. In Gaza, you leave via either Erez or Rafah, a hard escape to make. So we search for the visa interview. Cairo, Istanbul, Amman, but not in Palestine. We don't have embassies, sir. The one in Jerusalem is just 70 kilometers away from us, but it is farther than the Andromeda galaxy. But our Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away, but our years are heavy and dark. It would take trillions of years. Sir, we are not welcome anywhere. Only cemeteries do not mind our bodies. We no longer look for Palestine. Our time is spent dying. Soon, Palestine will search for us, for our whispers, for our footsteps, our fading pictures fallen off blown up walls. Last poem is a new one. It's not in any book yet. It's called A Hand is No Longer a Hand. After the airstrike, near a mulberry tree and some wild plants. They found the unmoving body of a boy. An eye was completely closed, the other was half open, watching for any piece of shrapnel that could kill him again. In my city, the army rounded up all the men, forced them to stand against the wall of the primary school. The hands raised, touched the newly painted bricks as if getting prepared to play the piano before the bullets drummed on shivering heads and backs. During the airstrikes, we sat on the tiled, dusty floor, stuck still as pills in a bottle in a pharmacy in a town where no one gets sick, where everybody is dead. I look at his wrist, it is crushed, nearly severed. And then at his shoulder, a bone is fractured. He is 4 years old. I say to my wife, oh, look how brave he is. He is not crying, no pain, no tears, even with no parents beside him. I set my eyes on his face. His eyes are not moving. His heart is not beating. He is taking a rest. A hand is no longer a hand as long as it does not find another hand to shake, as long as it does not find food to share with others, as long as it does not find a pen to write, as long as it's the only meat a dog can find to eat, as long as it goes missing forever. Is this really it? Us waking up every morning, tell you about a massacre that happened overnight? Is our only job to report on our deaths, film our cut-off bodies, and ask you for help? When do you wake up? Is it okay with you to wake up to find your house on fire, to find your child charred, to find your wife in a hospital with no medicine, to find your neighborhood a heap of rubble, to not wake up? Wake up. Enough watching us while sitting on a chair or reclining on a couch. We are drowning in your silence. We are screaming, but you took off your ears. You put them in your earbud cases. We see the blood as it gushes from the cases. The blood is our cries, our tears, our blood. You get displaced, you get wounded, yet survive. You jump off your cot when a missile hits the hospital. You shelter in a tent, you get displaced again. You get displaced again and again on crutches or a wheelchair. You get Gazan a zillion times. If we stay in our houses, they bomb us. If we shelter in a school, they bomb us. If we run to a hospital, they bomb us. If we move to a tent, they bomb us. If we go to a toilet, they bomb us. If we run from an airstrike, they bomb us. If we don't do any of this, they still bomb us. If we stay like a tree or temporarily leave like a leaf in the fall, they bomb us. But spring will come and those who bomb us, will have no bombs among the flowers. We will be on the trees bathing in the sun, and those who bomb us will have no sun, no place to rest, and no legs to run. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sabah al-khair, Mosab.
Sabah al-nur.
Thank you for joining us. I'm going to start with some new work. Thank you. This is from that excellent anthology that won the Palestine Book Award that George mentioned, Out of Gaza. New Palestinian poetry. I recommend, if you can get your hands on a copy, that you do so. Wow, okay, the combination of lights and shadows, man, this is gonna be, one moment. Okay. For those who are unfamiliar with this term, grisaille is the name of a painting technique that uses grayscale. Grisaille. The method is simple and civilized. A canvas must be stripped, then prepared, the scale of shadows and highlights defined, a foundation of values laid out upon which the victor's colors are saturated. Our children learn the maps of homeland in wartime on screens emblazoned with their cousins' limbs, vermilion streaks across the gaping craters of their leveled neighborhoods. It is said this technique comes from Europe. It is said the soldiers are livid for being forced to kill. It is said, disperse them all. Our children study these images, their cousins' corpses light fast, their cries passing through networks of metal and verdigris, calling for water and father and air. It is said, more succinctly, flatten it all. It is possible for the light to be reflected back to the viewer for the effect of luminosity. The state of. Noun gerund of the verb to journey, a setting out, a departure. A boy's voice calls out from beneath what used to be the second story of a house. I am here, he cries. Can anyone hear me? I am here and the night sky is sleeping on my chest. Noun gerund of the verb to leave, an exodus, a detachment. A father has gone in search of bread. A baker has gone in search of flour. A mother has gone in search of a cloud. A people have gone, a world in each of them. Noun gerund of the verb to travel, a parting, a demise. A girl steps on top of the walls of what used to be the third story of a house. I am searching for the sea, she cries. Has anyone seen it? It used to live in my window. Thank you. I have had some really gracious, wonderful, lovely sentiments shared with me since the National Book Awards. I'm grateful and humbled by all of them. It's a strange thing. What makes it feel especially worthwhile is when people say things like, it feels like our win. So I'm really grateful to be part of our win. But there's also this weird, for me, feels like weird conversation about bravery. Bravery when you say things that need to be said, if there's a microphone next to your mouth. So I wrote about it. So this is like really new. So, Millefeuille. She took her bravery out for a night on the town, got her nails done, draped her in roses. She ordered her steak rare. On her best behavior, delicate choreography of wonder and defiance. What the fuck are we doing here? She kept asking. There's a chandelier the size of an unexploded missile hanging from the ceiling and not a corpse in sight. But that wasn't true. Every grand metropolis is built on ruins. It is the height of refinement to look upon history with cultivated dispassion, as one might a millefeuille presented after the blood-soaked entree, the 1,000 layers of collateral damage, now a confection, or a lazy metaphor. Her bravery broke out in hives. It's often misidentified, and the room was crowded with bright gowns and dulled silverware. And she was alone in a spectacular expanse. They always say it is bravery of the barbarous, of the untamed. They never think of courage, of the seat of feelings, of the bruised and clamoring heart. And because she can't be with us today, and because I, like many, many Arab American writers, stand on the shoulders and in the beautiful heart of our sister Suhair Hamad, I would like to read a poem that is in her honor from my book, Something About Living. Let's see if I can find the page. This poem is entitled Slip Shape, and it's a golden shovel. So I hope you will find the book and check it out. And those of you who are poets know what a golden shovel is and can figure out. And those who don't, ask your poet friends, they'll tell you. Slip Shape, a golden shovel after Suhair Hamad. A hummingbird lavishes the lilac on the first morning I am by myself, and the open window ushers in decanted perfume, the sea, rain on the brink of falling. What slip-shaped prayers a woman must make of her body. To write my way out of the stories of war, I wrote the war again, and again I wrote its wounds. May arrives frenzied with questions. Whose children will we lose at the border? What use is it to remember what has never ended, to wax elegiac for how ardently we believed? This is not who we are becomes anthem and divine decree, armor against the living. Here we remain human and failing in our florid excesses, our national torpor, beings so fragile we might break. Can we, finally? And can we imagine what our new shapes might be?
Wow.
Thank you. Okay, should I read the one about the one politician or the one about all the politicians? What do you guys think? All? Let's do all, because I don't like any of them. Okay. Again, with the poets, this is a crown of sonnets, a thorn crown of sonnets. Poets are so goofy with all their namings. It just means a bunch of sonnets connected together through the repetition of a first and a last line. Notes from the Civil Discourse Committee. It was the first time I took my daughter to a protest. She was 3 weeks old, and my ligaments, my language, still loose, the ground beneath me precarious. I was in a state of knowing what it means for a life to claim you as a vessel, for my body to become a border, the truth of the world she had crossed into. Can we begin with the children picked off across the barbed wire fence by snipers? I recognize this is difficult, to question the smallest of givens. None of the words you speak ever name us. Do you understand why some things must break? Do you understand why some things must break? I have tried to be an American. It was a posture built on compliance and selective memory, that skin and origin story do not preclude me from eligibility for a dream, that a parent's exile can be upcycled, a life in another landscape. It was a posture of last resort. The first time I met an elected official was at a protest. He was seated on a stage. For a ceremony, I was outside. Reporters asked, "Why are you here today?" Because they are dancing on our graves. Because they are dancing on our graves when they aren't bulldozing them, elections leave bitter dregs in the mouth. A few years later, we arrive at, "No, he's a decent man," as opposed to an Arab, one candidate said of another, defending him to his own kind. I have been corrected whenever I recount this American experience. Even the decent, as opposed to an Arab man, goes on in the vernacular of his people to bomb, bomb, bomb. And still, the longing for his era of such decorous death thrives. It was a posture of late empire. It was a posture of late empire to resist settler colonialism while making friends and influencing people. Why am I here today? I'm asked this question often by those who made it inevitable. And yes, I would love to go back home. Even that dismissal requires something other than peace. More like a new language for the past that blooms wild on our hillsides, crushes verb tenses, and unsettling, a fresh old map, or just your exquisite absence where it has been needed. The departure of your shadow, starving us for light, wilting all that lives. Thank you. And I'll just close with this poem, which is for June Jordan, who is a light in my poetry life. I can see that some of you know who that is. If you don't, immediately go and get all the June Jordan books out of the library and read them all. Letter to June Jordan in September. I cannot pass the anniversary of that first news event of childhood without returning to your poem. How from my house I watched, and watched my grief-stricken parents unable to speak. How I leaned into the screen, the chords of the cries, searching for what was recognizable of fingers and thighs, of bracelets and mustaches. Macabre arrangement of bodies with names like our own. Something about witnessing twice removed, about distances magnified by the shift into language, of dailiness and my own children's vernacular and the machine grinding us all in its jaws. I met a girl from the camp at a reading in Beirut. She asked if we could talk about the life of poetry. Our families are hauled off to the world of the dead, and every day it is on screen. In Gaza, we're watching Ferguson, and in Atlanta, we're watching Jerusalem, watching Minneapolis, watching. Their weapons and their training programs indistinguishable. The word almost flickers for a nanosecond. Here, I note the shelf life of self-censorship, legacy of our era. Some days, poems are scrawled on pieces of cardboard and carried on our shoulders at the protest like martyrs. Here, I should say something about hope. Here, I should say something about living. Thank you.
Our people shall live. I wonder how many people in the audience know what that means. But anyways.
So much to research.
Yes,
So much.
to research. Yeah, I think about Lena's shirt that she wore the other day that I should have worn at my at the conference as well. But anyways, inside jokes. So, it is the idea of a panel right now is insane. The idea of a literary conference right now is insane. And I think in another world, some of us might have been like, oh, let's talk about poetic form. Oh, let's talk about, living, laughing, loving. And that living constitutes a paving over of genocide, and has always. And that is just now more evidence than ever before. And so I guess I want to start with now, the now of genocide, the now of ICE, the now of deportations, the now of student protest crackdowns, of academic cowardice, and this question of still, again, the genocide has not ended. And not only has it not ended, it has accelerated into what is called the deadliest day for children by even the Zionist entity itself. And so how the heck do we just, I don't know, I want to just hear from both of you all, you know, however hyper-local the question might be wherever you all are right now, how do we remain focused on ending this genocide and protecting our beloved protesters, our students, our habayib in the movement? What I just want to really, especially, you know, whatever Mosab wants to say about his situation right now too, just what does it even mean to be here now, right now in this moment for both of you all?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, George. I think this is a very critical time in the history of this country. People, I mean, especially students who have taken to the streets and who have protested the complicity of this country in the genocide of the Palestinian people. I mean, this tells us a lot because these students, especially from the Arab world, from Palestine, from India, from different parts of the world. I mean, when they come to the United States, you know, they are told that this is the country of free speech, this is the country of civilization. And now when they come to study here, they are told this is the visa that you have got is a privilege and you can't use it as much as you want, okay? You have some limits. You don't have the right to protest. You don't have even the right to write or even co-write an article for your university's newspaper. You can't even, I mean, we are deducting taxes from your income, and we are using this money to cover, to pay the bills for the genocide. But you are not allowed, not even to ask for something like an international intervention, you know, to stop the genocide in Gaza. But I mean, just to ask for a ceasefire. I mean, they are not even these people. I mean, they are not asking for an international intervention or to even arrest the war criminals in Israel. But they are asking for a ceasefire, and they are trying to convince their universities that they are complicit in the genocide because this money and these researches that they are carrying out is not only harming the Palestinian people, they are killing children. And these attacks are not carried out against Palestinians, but they are carried out against Palestinian refugees, 70% of the population in Gaza, and I think less in the West Bank. But I mean, in Gaza, where the concentration of the attacks is. So this genocide is not carried out against people, okay? It's carried out against the refugees who the world should be fighting with to achieve their freedom, their right to return, their right to self-determination, etc. So to come to this country and to feel unsafe, not even to protest, but even to practice your freedom to write, to speak, to even to call your representatives, your senators, you know, to do something about it. I mean, we are not asking you to go and join, you know, the Palestinians and their struggle to self-determination, or even to protect the families in Gaza, but even, you know, just to put some pressure, you know, to show them that what's happening is wrong and it needs to stop. And these are threats that are directed at me from, I mean, namely Bitar, the Zionist organization, who is even named, you know, an extremist organization by ADL, another Zionist organization. So it is, I mean, these are really, I mean, it is really ironic that someone like me who has left Gaza and who is with his family here, you know, practicing his literary life, taking his children to the school, you know, writing essays and poems. And I found myself also threatened, you know, by this administration. So it is really, I mean, yeah, it's really frightening, especially with the videos that we have seen of other students, you know, who have been abducted. And by the way, I would like to add something here about this campaign. Don't you notice that it is taking place, especially against protesters or activists or even writers, during the holy month of Ramadan?
Right.
Why is it taking place during Ramadan? This is an attack on us, and I'm Muslim, okay? And Mahmoud Khalil, Muslim. So why would they attack these students while they are fasting and they are celebrating this holy month of Ramadan with their families? Why exactly now? Why not next month? Why not in February?
I think maybe my best contribution is to take the local angle. So we're all here at AWP. Let's talk about what we can do here. I have been at AWP prior to this event for maybe 45 minutes. The level of anger and frustration I have is through the roof. And so I'm going to tell you about that so that you can understand what is at stake and how you can be involved and how you and your presence are implicated. Because I think as writers, what we actually have control over are the arts and culture organizations and institutions that we belong to and whose labor, our labor that they benefit from. And you should have full insight into how they behave, okay? And it's those cultural organizations and institutions that uphold the larger system that is in fact funding this genocide. So let's just be super clear about that, number one. So here are some of the stories I heard this morning in 45 minutes. Number one, apparently there are several panels that got added at the last minute to AWP, long after the democratic process where you have to apply and have your panel vetted, equitably so that we can all be fairly represented in terms of the range of topics and ideas we want covered. No. A late-breaking donation arrived, a sponsorship, and so some panels were added last minute. And one of them, I just read the description of one, is a panel that basically advocates genocide denial. And it talks about how the feelings are hurt of those folks who have to hear that Palestinians are being subjected to an, in quotes, genocide. So AWP approved this panel. And it's really important that every one of you knows that. Every one of you who paid a registration, every one of you who comes, I've been coming to AWP since the year of our Lord 2013. Seriously, add up the amount of registrations that is. So the performance of DEI is not really sufficient resistance to what we're facing in this country. And in case there is a single human being on planet Earth who isn't clear, let me clarify. There isn't a debate anywhere serious about whether there is a genocide or not. There isn't a human rights organization, Israeli, Palestinian, American, Batikh. They have all come out and clearly said, this is absolutely a genocide. Look up the Lemkin Institute's definition. This debate was never a debate. It was settled pretty immediately. But AWP saw fit, in order to be inclusive, or I don't know really what their thinking was, they saw fit to reintroduce this non-debate by approving this panel in March of 2025, 18 months into a genocide that our tax dollars fund. That's egregious. It's not just like painful, it's not just upsetting, it's egregious. It literally enables the genocide to continue. So check into your cultural organization, check into your literary arts institution. Are they handmaidens for genocide? Are they enabling language that gets people killed? And what are you going to do about it? Every single one of us is implicated and is accountable. Those are things that you can actually do. You can write to the board. You can talk to the people you know. They're walking around the book fair right now. It's not hard. Say, hey, I heard about this. Can you explain this to me? Why? Yeah. And have them have to look you in the eye and tell you that they wanted to make sure nobody's feelings were hurt, including people who don't believe that there is a genocide. That is not a perspective. That's a criminal thing to do. And it's really important that we get clear on our language. We're way past time for clarity on language.
And it's, and it's funny because I just saw the CEO of PEN America, walking by, soulless in the eyes, depraved human beings. Everyone at the Pen America booth doesn't have humanity in their face. They are just vacuous, empty souls of what a human should be. And Pen America recently releasing a statement it's a statement of quote unquote apology, trying to elite capture Palestinians behind our backs, trying to say, we want to sell you out, we want to hold you hostage, we want to have secret behind the door conversations with you, and we will not tell a soul about these conversations. We will take your names, we will take your souls, we will take your narratives, we will take the breath from your throats and your lungs just to fight for the people's right to say genocide and to not say genocide. Their official stance on their website is that they do not use the word genocide because they support the right of people to deny genocide. Look at their website. I am reminded of the words of Rasha Abdul Hadi that there is no language on earth more terrifying, more chilling than the Zionist entity's language itself. The Zionist entity that since its inception has called itself a colonial project trying to replace the humanity of one indigenous population with a newfound humanity of another population over their humanity, a population that has put us into what the Red Cross and other humanitarian organizations now call slavery camps that the British have built and laid the foundations for. It is all in the history. It is all in the archive. It is all, they themselves are their own worst enemy because they tell us who they are in their language. Pen America, 92Y, these people, it is beyond time to stop collaborating with these people. It is beyond time to end these people. Seriously, to end these organizations. And I say this again with, if you have been living under a fucking rock, the 92nd Street Y, who the New Yorker just collaborated with, by the way, who your favorite Live Laugh DEI editors have just collaborated with, by the way, who your favorite useless fucking poets of Empire have still collaborated with time and time again when they host IOF fundraisers, as they kidnap, as they assassinate our poets, our beloved Habayeb, our Heba Abu Nada, our Rafat al-Arir. Is this not a fucking metaphor to you people? And you still go and have your live, laugh, love, toasting champagne events at these places? The fucking New Yorker poetry? Are any of you serious people? Seriously. And with that said, we have two people here who not only are resistors in their words, and Mizna wanted to highlight these two because they're also builders of institutions themselves. They are also, Lena's work with the Baffler series that Habibi Fadi Jouda started, single-handedly brought Palestinian poets to this country in the way that, no one since Salma Khadra Jayusi, Allah yarhamha, has done, right? Mosab Abu Toha with the Edward Said Gaza libraries, public libraries, the most prominent, where now my last copy of my chapbook, Al Yom, on Earth, because Lena Khalaf Tuffaha sent it to Mosab years ago, the last copy of my chapbook, El Yom, on Earth, is under the Rebel of Gaza now, because it was at the Edward Said Library, along with Habibi Julian Randall's book, Refuse, winner of the Khan Prize. And these are books that are physically in Gaza under the Rebel right now, as we speak. And so I guess my question is, anything to say to this audience about rebuilding / continuing to support Palestinian institutions on Palestinian terms, the role of cultural institutions in this moment? How can the American public reshift this conversation back to rebuilding Palestine on Palestinian, especially Ghazawi terms?
Yeah, I would like to start first by thanking both of you. And I wanted to follow up on what Lena said about hosting a panel or whatever it is that would question the use of the term genocide to describe what's happening in Gaza. And this is disgusting, this is enraging, this is dehumanizing, and I'm happy that none of our people in Gaza are listening to this conversation to learn about what's happening at this conference. I would like to say that we in Gaza, we artists, poets, parents, medics, different kinds of people, we describe this, we use the word genocide, even from day 2, okay? When the Israeli officials, these criminals decided to cut off water, food, medicine, fuel, everything. I mean, what is going to happen if these, aside from the act of killing, but what would happen to a population who are not going to have water, food, fuel, medicine, where, a city which has been under siege since 2007, what's going to happen? So we have used the word genocide before Amnesty International, before the Limken Institute, before Beit Salem, before anyone. But no one has been listening to us. We have been warning, and the UN itself, United Nations, they have warned that Gaza would be unlivable by 2020. And this is not 2024. No. They said that, I think in 2017, they said Gaza would be unlivable. And the question is, what has the world done to prevent this from happening? And what has the world expected to happen in Gaza after 2020? It is really, I can't tell you what I feel right now, realizing that we in Gaza have been shouting and screaming, and the United Nations have been a warning that Gaza would be unlivable. What do you expect to happen in an unlivable space? So this is a question that no one has been asking. So what I would expect from the people in the room, I would expect every one of them to use their language, to use their literary talents, their publishing houses, to amplify the Palestinian voices. We have been, in the past few years, in the past years, we have been hearing about Palestine, but we have never heard from Palestine itself. Now it is the time to hear the Palestinian people. Just don't invite people to talk about us. Political analysts, commentators, scholars. I don't need, it is good to have these people, but we need to bring the Palestinian voice first. Let's ask the Palestinians, what are your hopes? What are your demands? How do we achieve peace? And by the way, I hate the word peace. I love the word justice. I love the word justice. It is the only word that we should use, because peace, especially according to the empire, according to the colonialists, peace is about having, the population in an occupied country, making no problems. It is a peace. There are no quarrels. There is no fighting. No, I don't want peace. I need justice. And if you want to talk about justice, let's address the decades-long injustices that have been inflicted on the Palestinian people. And when we talk about Palestinian people, we're not talking about Palestinians in Palestine. We talk about Palestinians in the refugee camps in Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. And we talk about the Palestinians in the diaspora. No one is talking about any of these things. Why? You can't just address a wound when you know that the knife is still inside the body of this who is bleeding. Mm-hmm. If we want to talk seriously about peace and justice, let's talk about Palestine as an issue, not about Gaza and the genocide, although these things are horrible and terrific. But let's talk about, if you are serious about peace and justice, let's address the main causes of this decades-long struggle. Let's talk to the Palestinians. I don't want to talk about to Hamas or Fatah or the Palestinians. Let's talk to the Palestinian people. Okay, talk to people in the street. I'm not part of any political faction, but I want people to talk to me as an individual, because it's easy to say, oh, you are Hamas, you are terrorist. No. Just talk to me as a human being. Okay, I am Palestinian, and to be Palestinian is enough for me. You can be Hamas, you can be Fatah, but you can't only talk to Fatah or to Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. We talk to the Palestinian who has the right to decide on his future. The average Palestinian, the people who are in Gaza right now. We need to, when was the last time, or I'm sure it never happened, when did any American or European or any foreign official visit Gaza? Of course, not after October 7. And if you ask, when was the last time, I don't want to talk about the Palestinian politics, but when was the last time the Palestinian president visited Gaza? And when was the last time any official came to Gaza, not to talk to ministers, no, talk to Palestinian people. walk in the street, meet with the young people like us, talk to them. How do we bring? How can we make your life easy in Palestine? And in Palestine, I've never met anyone from the West Bank. So this is another struggle. I've never met anyone from the West Bank, the other half of the Palestinian occupied territories. I've never been allowed to go to the West Bank. I mean, so it is Israel's intention to keep the Palestinians separated politically, geographically, So because if we are divided, and this is their intention, they would say easily, to whom should we be talking? So it is an enforced rift by the Israelis, and they want the rift between Hamas and Fatah, and they have been helping in many ways to maintain this rift. So yeah.
And America capitalizes on those divides. An empire, the Western Empire, breaks into those divides and tries to further exacerbate. Just yes-anding, Mosab.
Yeah.
I'll just sort of add, and I think my role today is just going to be to keep it local, because I know that it can feel as if this is something large and not somehow related to us in this room, that it's a capital P political issue. No, it's a deeply American issue. This invented conflict is American manufactured. Okay, the regime that exists, that is engaged in a genocide, that has always been dispossessing and brutalizing and torturing Palestinians, and has accelerated that in a horrific way over the past 18 months, could never have possibly done any of those things without the endorsement, the financial sponsorship, the political cover of every single US administration, Democrat and Republican, even your bestie boy, Bernie Sanders. There is no exception, not one. So this is an American issue. Palestinians aren't asking for charity. They're not like, oh, please look at us over here from far away suffering. They're saying, please get your American boot off of our necks. It is your American boot on our necks. I have been shown, as have every Palestinian who has ever been to the West Bank, the shell casings that say made in insert American state or city, right? Like, we make this possible, you and I. We pay taxes, we make this possible. We belong to organizations, cultural, literary, academic institutions make this possible. We normalize it with our language. We normalize it with our silence. We normalize it with our performances of DEI. We pat ourselves on the back if we cry a little and feel sad, and we go about our day. But our boot stays on Palestinians' necks. So this is an American issue. It is a national issue. It is a local issue. Long before this administration, many of us in cities all over the country were fighting at the school board level, at the city level, because Zionist organizations like the ADL show up and try to shove down our throats definitions that expand what anti-Semitism is to include any criticism of the state of Israel. They get that passed at the school board level. I want you to hear that. They get that passed at the school board level so that your kids growing up before Trump, before Biden. I have been dealing with this as a mother who is a Palestinian American for years and years. Okay? These are nationally organized campaigns in every city in America. They make sure that your kids, when they go to school, are taught to conflate, which is, by the way, the most anti-Semitic thing possible, to conflate the criminality, all the horrible things that the state of Israel is doing. They're taught that that cannot be criticized, because if you criticize that, you're an anti-Semite, and you're attacking Jewish people, and you're making them unsafe. That is old news. And we're seeing the results of it now in the most extreme and horrific form. That's number one. Number two, you have to realize that it will come for you at some point. There are states that have anti-boycott, divestment, and sanctions laws. For example, Arkansas. I was just invited to participate in a literary festival as a poet, but in order to get paid for my appearance, I would be required to sign a document that says that I commit to the state of Arkansas that I will not boycott the state of Israel. This is not new. This has nothing to do with the current administration.
Years ago for
Right?
me too.
There are other states, et cetera, et cetera. So at some point you will be asked. You will be asked, thank you, to turn down money. You will be asked to be uncomfortable. You will be asked to give something up. And I promise you, you will survive. Because no one is bombing you. The roof over your head stands. Every one of us has to make some kind of real material sacrifice, has to be willing to have awkward conversations and lose so-called friends. We can discuss whether they're really your friends, but that's separate. You have to actually put something on the line so people will stop dying. There's no other way. So again, I'm sorry I sound like a broken record, but today my real reason for spending this time with you, in addition to the privilege of sharing poems with you, is to help us get very granular and very clear on what is at stake and what you personally and specifically have to do, because this is an American issue.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah. Can I add something, George?
please.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, thank you so much. I really loved that Lena mentioned the conflation of anti-Semitism with the hate of the Jewish people. And I have a question that I think everyone should be asking their students, their colleagues, their friends, their family. So if hating the Jewish people is called anti-Semitism, what do we call the hate, not the hating, the occupation of the Palestinian people land, and also the killing of them? Is there any word that we should be using and we should be advocating against?
Racism, colonialism, imperialism, very clear words. This is never, these issues touch anti-Semitism, they touch Islamophobia, but this willful misunderstanding that American academia, again, have been doing for decades now, but now is really re-ramping up to conflate the colonization of Palestine with a question of anti-Semitism versus Islamophobia is sheer illiteracy. And it is a problem of what does Palestinian literature mean when in a Palestinian American literature, or Palestinian literature presented to an American public in English, what does that mean to a public that is built on an illiteracy that misreads willfully our bodies, that overwrites our bodies, that, again, Edward Said, Permission to Narrate, 1984, this has been ringing through my head this entire conversation, that the facts about Palestine do not simply speak for themselves. If anyone in this room had known all the facts about Palestine, we wouldn't, there's no debate about these, outdated debates like genocide, etc. It's I think about the Lena Khalaf Tuffaha line, repetition is a nakba. We are forced to repeat and repeat and repeat in just increasing ways how to get through. I have a question, maybe one last question for you two, speaking of, the idea of like being in this room, this hyper-local, being in this room via distance in Mosab's case, being in this room physically in Lena and I's case, who are Palestinians in our lives that are not physically in this room that we want to bring into this room? They can be writers, they can be poets, they can be human beings, they can be ancestors, they can be people, wisdom bearers, I want to take this second to say we have the privilege of being in this room. I woke up today with the threats that we have been facing for just having this event in my mind, saying, okay, is this the day that they're gonna finally come for me? And then I did an exercise of, what's the worst I can lose? My job? Cool, I have community. I'd rather be homeless and without a job, because at least it's not being under the rubble that I paid for, right? And I said, what is even worse that I could lose? My life. At least I would lose my life in dignity with my loved ones here. At least I would be, again, here and not under the fucking rubble that I paid for. in Gaza, right? And so it costs us a lot to get into this room, and it could cost us a lot to get into this room and to survive this room. But I really, really want to use this as we end to bring in Palestinians who are not in this room and who could not otherwise be in this room. And what are their words? What are their thoughts? What are their feelings? What are their life forces? So just anything you two want to share about that. And I know, again, because I know Mosab probably has a lot of feelings on this with, you know, the whole talking to actual Palestinians right now, you know, which I want to really emphasize to people in this audience.
Yeah. Thank you so much, George, for this question. And I would like to start by saying that there is something that is worse than being under the rubble. Something that is worse is you not being, your body to be just scattered in the air after an airstrike. There are so many people whose bodies couldn't be found until today. For example, my wife's uncle's family, about 13 people were killed in one airstrike, and they couldn't find, even after there was a ceasefire, they went back home to search through the rubble, and they couldn't find the corpses of all the women and the children until today. So there is something worse than being under the rubble. Sometimes people would celebrate, by the way. Just see how really terroristic it is, that sometimes people would celebrate the fact that they could bury the bodies of their children. For them to bury them, to be able to find their corpses after months of being under the rubble, when they bury them, they celebrate. People would come and congratulate them for being able to find these bodies and to bury them. Just imagine to what extent we have come. One person that, and all of you know him, that I would love to be in this room with all of you and with me virtually, is Rifat Al-Arahir. And I think what we are doing today and what we will continue to do is telling the story, his story. If I must die, you must live to tell my story. And this story of Rifat is not his personal story. It is Rifat, the Palestinian who was born under occupation and who educated so many people to write stories, including me, and who wishes. There is a story that never ends as long as there is an occupation, and even after the occupation ends, there would be a new story, but a story of freedom, of dignity, of justice. So this is what we should be doing. And I have so many questions for Rifat that I wish I could ask him. But I'm sure that he will visit me, and he will visit everyone who seeks to continue to tell Rifat's story, the story of the Palestinian who stood in the face of occupation, and who continued to speak to the outside world despite being in danger all the time. So Rifat Al-Arahir is someone that I would like to sit in my seat. On my seat. And the other names are, and I will not mention any more names, but someone else that I want to be in this room with us is the Palestinian mother or the Palestinian parent, but especially the mother, who has helped, who had supported her children and her husband and everyone in the community survive throughout the past 17 months. We always hear about heroes, poets or journalists as being heroes. No, the real hero is the Palestinian parent. The Palestinian parent who has never given up. The Palestinian parent who stood in a queue to get some bread before they were killed in one airstrike. And today, by the way, as we are talking, I would like to share with you some heartbreaking news that 3 people were killed while they were breaking their fast on the beach of Deir al-Balah. 3 people were killed as they were trying. And tomorrow is Eid in Palestine, by the way. Tomorrow is Eid. It is the biggest occasion in our culture, in Islam, to celebrate the end of Ramadan. Today, just as people, a family was breaking their fast on the beach of Deir al-Balah. 3 of them were killed. And I'm not sure if the number will increase. But we have to continue to tell these stories. And I think Rifat's poem is a guidance for all of us.
I think it's important to say that none of us write by ourselves. I know folks imagine writing as a solitary activity, but we actually write together. We write in response to and in conversation with all of our peers. And so I wish all of my beloved Palestinian poet and writer peers could be in this room with us. And I think you all have the great privilege of having access to their work. So please read Palestinian writers and learn from them about our culture and our vision for the future. I'll leave you with the words of two Palestinian writers who have long passed that have, I tried to sort of devise a metric for myself to get through this time. Like how do I hold myself accountable? What are gonna be the values that I assess against? And so two Palestinians actually and one Egyptian. The first, and the metrics are taken from a line of either a poem of theirs or something they've said. The first one is a line from the great Mahmoud Darwish, who says, كانت تسمى فلسطين صارت تسمى فلسطين. It used to be called Palestine. It was called in the future Palestine. Everything I do or write or participate in has to be measured against that. The insistence on Palestine historically, as I know it from my family, from my parents, from my ancestors, and that the only place we're headed is to a free Palestine and nothing less. That's number one. Number two is the great Egyptian poet Amal Dun'ul, who wrote a poem on the occasion of President Carter and kind of negotiating a so-called peace deal between Egypt and Israel. And the poem was entitled La Tusalih, do not reconcile. Peace is a word that is often pointed at us and used, as Mosab was describing earlier, to replace justice. And I will have no reconciliation with that, ever. La tusalih. And the last one is from the great Ghassan Kanafani. You can easily find this interview all over the internet, in which he is being asked, why don't you just talk to them? Why don't you talk to them? Why wouldn't you talk to them? And this gets used in all kinds of contexts and forums. And he says, talk about what? I'll talk about, and then I can't even remember the answer because it was so ridiculous and made no sense. And Ghassan Kanafani, with his magnificent disgust, looks at the reporter and says, this is the sort of conversation that is between the sword and the neck. So for me, how I measure any engagement or any work I do is, in this conversation, am I the sword or am I the neck? Stop being the neck. Those are my three metrics that I use. And those are the Palestinians who I walk with and the Egyptian who I walk with. And it's okay to have these kind of difficult standards and these high thresholds because so much is at stake. So I really hope that after today's conversation, if you haven't already, you find ways to put something on the line and to free us in America of the horror of what we have done sooner rather than later.
I will say, so we want to end. I have three as well. One, Rasha Abdul Hadi, queer Southern trans Palestinian, who asks us to write as if we're throwing sand the years of empire, who Google the poem finished with the peace. This is exactly what all of us have been saying. And who tells us to fight for Palestinians while we're alive, not when we're dead. Two, Fargo Tabaki, past is a future we return to. Three, Habibti, Habibna, Suhair Hamad. This is a poem from Heaven Looks Like Us, an anthology that Noor Hindi and I edited that would not exist without Mizna. The acknowledgement list is so long for the amount of Mizna issues that are in this anthology. Would not exist without Habibi Mosab, who takes the most amount of pages in the whole anthology are for Habibi Mosab. Without Lena, who not only appears with her poems and her immaculate translations, but stayed on the phone with Noor and I until 2 in the morning sometimes, late at night, being our shadow advisor, being our rock, being our foundation, being our teacher, our mentor, our guider from afar. This would not exist without Lena, without Fadi Juda, without Huda Fakhreddin, and we want to end with Suhair Hamad, who brought us all together, even though she's not here, with a quick poem titled Jabalia, written over a decade ago, by the way. A woman wears a bell, carries a light, calls, searches through madness of Deir Yassin, calls for rafah, for bread, orange peel, under nails, blue glass, under feet, gathers children in Zaytun, singing with dead mothers. She unearths tunnels and buries sun onto trauma, a score, and a day rings a bell. She is dizzy, more than yesterday, less than tomorrow, a zigzag, back Dawamia, back humming Sabah, back Shatila, back Ramla, back Janine, back Al-Khalil, back Al-Quds, all of it, all underground, in ancestral chants. She rings a bell, promising something she can't see. Faith is that, faith is this, all over the land, under the belly of wind, she perfumed the love of a burning sea, concentrating refugee camp, crescent targeted red, a girl's charred cold face, dog-eaten body, angels rounded into lockdown, shelled, injured shock, weapons for advancing armies, clearing forests, sprayed onto a city, osage tree, human skin, contact, explosion, these are our children, she chimes through Nablus, back Yaffa, back shot under spotlight, phosphorus, murdered, libeled, public relations, public relation. A bell fired in Jericho rings through blasted windows. A woman carries bones in bags under eyes, disbelieving, becoming numb, dumbed by numbers, front and back. Gaza onto Gaza, for Gaza, I'm sorry. Gaza, I'm sorry. She sings for the whole powerless world. Her notes pitch perfect. The bell, a death toll. Our people shall live. Thank you all for coming. I love you, Mosab.
Thank you. I love you all. Thank you so much. I wish I was there with you.
Shukran. Shukran jazilan.
After.
We will be, Lena will be outside signing books. I will be with her to push people out of the way if they come at her with nonsense. And Mosab's book is here too.
Some fucking gossip.